Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Eziel. I'm a Lancer with GM on Serpentine's Isle, and this is Be Creative Closed Beta 3, produce an instructional video on how to play your preferred class. And of course, I'm a Lancer, so that's what we're going to be doing. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to kind of lay out a couple of things here for us, starting off with covering our main glyph skills, the actual glyph setup that you can have at level 32. Additionally, we're going to go over some of the main crystals, your role as a Lancer, discuss BAM control and crowd control, how to educate your friends and party members and guildmates and non-tankers alike, chain skills and their effectiveness and positioning of the Lancer and your team. Let's go ahead and talk about the skills that you'll be glyphing. The primary ones you'll be using is Stand Fast, which is your basic block, and then you've got your Shield Bash, which basically stuns one or more foes for 4 seconds. Then you have your Challenging Shout, which aggroes anything within 10 meters to you, and then you have Shield Counter, which basically is a follow-up if you're in your Stand Fast position. At level 32, you have about 22 glyph points that you can put in, and if you want to pause this video here and kind of check out some of the skills I've got, if you utilize all of these, this is mostly for your best aggroing as much as possible with the Lancer if you're doing BAM attacks or doing partying, and you can actually check out and see this actually maxes out your entire glyph points at level 32. I'll include the link to the build below in the description. Let's go ahead and talk about crystals now. The Threatening Crystal is probably the most important crystal for the Lancer because of the fact it gives an additional 5% aggro with the combo attack that you can do. To round it out, I would probably say that the Swift Crystal actually gives you some additional movement speed in combat, and then you also have the Brilliant Crystal, which gives you more mana regeneration while in or out of combat. As far as on the defensive side, you've got your armor knockdowns. In case you get knocked down, there's percentages for getting a shield up, maybe getting some additional health, regeneration, and then the other ones may round out with maybe doing some health crystals, or maybe doing additionally some sort of percentageal markdown of damage against either BAMs or mobs or overall attacks from anybody. It really comes down to what is your preferred method as far as what works best for what you want to do. If what you want to do is you want to try to mitigate as much damage, go with those damage crystals. If you want to try to get more regenerations as you're through the fight, try to knock off some of the chances of your priest running out of mana, go for those. I don't think there's really any kind of right or wrong answer. I think the point is to kind of focus on the ones that help you in the manner of which you think is best for you and your team. Let's go ahead and talk about your role as a Lancer. I really think that the main thing to comprehend and understand here is that as a Lancer, you are going to be hit. You are what stands between your team and the opposing players or potential enemies. Such as in this video, we've got Melgarius who's actually trying to come and attack you. So, as that person that stands between everybody, I think the most basic concept is that you set the tempo, because you're taking all of the hits, and if something happens to you, then everybody else is going to kind of slow down, if not cease to really move forward with progression of any kind of quest or dungeons. So since you set that tempo, I think that by default makes you really the leader of this group. You have to be the one that goes in, and you have to be the one that decides, can you take, 3 or 6 or up to 12 mobs at one time. Sinestro Manor is very phenomenal for the fact that, these mobs are really difficult, they're really hard, and quite frankly, even myself, I have difficulty when I start reaching 5 or 6 mobs at one time. Now, it's okay, you're going to pull additional mobs. That stuff does happen. So, your best bet is to get your challenging shouts up as quickly as possible. Get those counter shields. Keep the aggro as much as you can. If somebody does pull, I would really only trust a guild mate or somebody I've been playing with to really pull for me. Or if there's some sort of mutual understanding you've got. And if somebody's pulling and it's too much for you as a Lancer, nobody really knows better than you do. So you've got to be the great communicator to your team. You've got to really let them know kind of what the standards are for what you can or can't do. It's really kind of based on what your gear is, what your skills are, and really your individual skills as a Lancer. And so there's much more to learn, and as long as you're learning from those mistakes, I'd say great, make those mistakes, but don't let somebody else make those mistakes for you. So and then additionally, let's go into talking about crowd control. I mean, I love being able to go into this room where there's a bunch of little itty bitty guys and go pull about 20 or 30 folks, challenge shout them, put up the shield, and then watch my Lancer just decimate them in one hit, and just kind of look back and be like, wow, that was kind of incredible. So with the BAM controls, I think probably one of the most important things, especially with like Radat and Melgarius, is kind of watching where they go and being careful about where, with with Radat, make sure you don't go outside of those stones, or with Malgarius, make sure that you chain him at that 75, that 50, that 25% time, so he doesn't get those add-ons, because that causes such contention and problems for your group. Those add-ons don't do a whole lot by themselves, but together with Malgarius and the fact there's 6 of them, they're rolling 1,500, 2,000 damage. And you can see in this video here, basically I'm soloing Malgarius occasionally because my DPS and my healers have got to go and take care of these add-ons they pull from other rooms, from what they've pulled from, Malgarius actually going, because I failed as a Lancer. So what you've got to make sure that you do is you have to make sure that you study the BAMs, that you understand what moves that they're doing, and understand that when they do particular types of things, that you've got to go and stop them or block them or do the certain type of skill sets that they have to go and do to ensure the survival of your party. Now, when it comes to educating your guild mates or your party mates or non-tankers, one of the main things to understand here is that, since you are the leader in here, you've got to help let them know what they need to do to help you control the BAM or mobs. With Malgarius, you want to make sure that nobody's standing directly behind him. You've got to educate those folks and let them know what's going on. Now, priests and mystics, if you see that they're healing you, when you've got like, maybe 5 to 25% life taken away, let them know, hey, what, I really don't need that additional heals. I need you to watch me when I get below 50%. Educate them when they need to heal, because if they heal you continuously and keep you at 100%, they're pulling aggro, and that's going to cause you a ton of problems. Additionally, make sure that, if, say, somebody does pull aggro, such as a DPS or priest, make sure they run around and come back to you. What really sucks more than anything is when you do a challenging shout, and guess what? You gotta wait 10 seconds. Well, I'm sorry, I can't help you. So get on Mumble, your team speak, whatever it is. Let your team know, hey, you've got to pull run around. I got 6 seconds. I got 5 seconds. Start going through and letting them know. And then, all right, come back to me. Come back to me, and I'll challenge shout him when he comes in within my range, and then I'll get on top of him. Do the best that you can to educate your team members on the fly of what's going on, because as that team leader, it's your responsibility. So, when you see that he's starting to aggro, or if he's starting to do like the red dotted moves or something, let your team know. If you've got a team speak or something, or mumble and say, hey, he's about to do XYZ move. Let them know, because a lot of times we're on those sides, they may not see it, that is quite possible. And then additionally, make sure that, you're just overall talking to each other as best as possible, because anytime something happens or something's going on, it drastically is going to affect you first, I believe, a lot of times, unless somebody pulls aggro. Now, with your chain skills and effectiveness, one of the main things to understand here is that there's certain skills that work great together. Your combo attack into doing a spring attack, or maybe doing your, shield barrage into a spring attack, or maybe doing a shield bash, stunning, the BAM, stunning, the mobs, and then going into like an onslaught move or something of that nature. You've got to line those skills up and make them effective as much as possible to help benefit your party, so that way you can quickly take care of any kind of BAMs or mobs that are going on here. And of course, lastly, but certainly not least, is positioning of a Lancer in a team. Quite frankly, your position is going to be right there in the face of the BAM. So what you've got to watch out for is watch out for what you're pulling as far as the other BAMs or mobs or other things around you. Nothing's more fun than pulling 2 Kumosses, right? And then you've got to somehow figure out, okay, are we going to run, or are we going to stand and fight this? Quite frankly, as a Lancer, I could probably take 2 Kumosses with absolutely no problem. And so when you look at the positioning of your team, one of the main things is make sure that your team is not in the way or behind that BAM. Make sure your team members are not in front of you, because you know what? We have a shield. That shield is useful for a reason. And so the best thing to do is get behind that or stay left or right. That's really all there is to it. So, if you see somebody that's going to that backside because, they're a Castanic and they want to get that additional potential crit behind, that's fine. Move out the way as soon as you get done with that, though. Do something. So you've got to be that educator for your team. Do the best that you can there. So what you're really going to want as far as the positioning is you're going to want people either on the left or right or behind you. Because if they're in any other type of position, they're either going to cause problems with certain skills, or they're going to get hit with some sort of type of attacks. Now, hopefully this actual the discussion here has been educational for you. This didn't really go into any details as far as with low-level skills or talking about skills individually. I wanted to really talk about overall skills and talk about overall strategies to best keep your parties alive as best as possible. So if you have any comments or suggestions, go ahead and give me a feedback. Let me know either on the channel or on the actual Lancer guide, or PM me on the Tera forum. So I hope you guys have enjoyed, and you guys have a great night.